Hi friends, welcome back to the Gough house. If you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today is a sewing video. This is my 2025 in sewing. When I had a separate sewing channel, every year at the end of the year I would go through and recap all my sewing projects for the year. So that is what I'm going to do today. Ignore the decorations. My mom's birthday is today and we had a party on Sunday. So, the beginning of 2025, I made, that's a wall hanging, I made this little quilt. So cute. This one is called Mi Casa. Hopefully you can see it. I might have to move you over here. I'll move you over here to the table. This one is, oh gosh, I didn't bring the pattern out. I used a line of fabric called Fruit Cocktail, and that one is by Coriander Quilts. Okay, maybe you can see it a little bit better. It's got a bad cough. I just realized I think I put these two bottom ones on backward. Or I put that one on backward. They don't match. How weird. Okay, Mi Casa pattern. Super cute. I backed it with this fabric I've had in my stash for many, many years. It's a retro fabric. And I looked at this fabric and I thought, when am I ever going to use that fabric? It looks like 80s bed sheets. And I never thought I'd use it, but it ended up matching this perfectly and looks pretty good. And then I just did a plain red for the binding. Big blocks. I love big blocks, and I cannot lie. So super fun and easy to make. This is a great one for beginners. If you are wanting to try your hand at quilting, this is an excellent one to start with. I will put the pattern in the description box for you if you are interested. This one, I can't even remember the size. It's pretty small. I'm guessing this is about 50 by 50. 52 by 50 maybe. It's pretty small. You can use it as a wall hanging, a great lap blanket. Immediately after that one, I did this one. This is a wall hanging. And it's so cute. I'm actually going to go back there and put this one up on my wall. I just did plain red for the backing. And then for the binding, I used jelly roll that I had left over. This was made with a jelly roll, and I can't remember the name. I think it's X's and O's, something like that. I can't remember the name of the jelly roll. It was a Valentine jelly roll that I got a few years ago, and I've used it on several projects, and I still have more of this stuff left. So, wall hanging. So it's pretty small, but I'm going to hang this on my wall right now. Immediately after that, I made this one. Again, another small quilt, but this one is wall. You could use it for wall hanging or a lap size quilt. Can't remember the name of this one. Super cute. The background, instead of using plain white, I pulled a retro low volume fabric out of my stash with some tiny green flowers on it. I think it matches pretty nice. The back I just used pink. Apparently I ran out. I had taken a square out of there, so I put a yellow one in because that's all I had. Well, I guess and then I just did a yellow and white, a yellow with white striped binding on this one because I pulled that out of my stash. This one is completely scrappy. I can't remember the line of fabric. Some of it is Fruit Cocktail, left over from the other quilt, the one sitting under it. the Mi Casa. I used whatever was left over from that. Plus, I think I used some Easter fabric. It was an Easter jelly roll that I had. And it was super cute. And it was left over from a bunny blanket I did. I did the top of the bunny blanket last year. And then there is this one. This is my log cabin quilt I made this year. I am so in love with this one. It is my favorite quilt of the year. My husband bought me a quilting magazine at the grocery store, and that was in 2023. This quilt was in 2023 issue, I believe. And then, I've got stars hanging everywhere. As soon as I saw it, I knew I had to make it. This is a Sherry McConnell pattern. She does a lot of log cabin quilts. So, this one is pretty big. It can go on a bed. What size do I think it is? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what size it is. But I love this quilt. And then here is the throw pillow with the leftover house square. This one I used strawberry lemonade fabric, but there wasn't quite enough, so I threw in the odds and ends from the fruit cocktail, which is what I did the pictures on the inside with, and I believe some Lori Holt fabric. So all these pictures are made with leftover fruit cocktail and then the Lori Holt B-plaids maybe. And I just use like the 5-inch squares for all these. So that's what the middles are made with, and then strawberry lemonade for the lines. And this one I did a quilt as you go. So on my sewing channel before it was taken from me, I showed exactly what I did, and I made each square. I put the batting in, I put the backing on, and then I quilted each square individually and then sewed them all together in a specific way for quilt as you go method, which I absolutely love. So with bigger quilts, that's what I like to do. But this one is my favorite quilt of 2025. And then, this runs all the way around the outside of the back side of this blanket. This is the backing. It reminds me of strawberry shortcake. It matches, but I loved the print so much, I decided to go with this. And this is where I joined the border. I decided to go with a solid white border, so this is where I joined the border. And then I just did a white joining strip, which frames the whole underside of it and actually makes it look a little cuter than it would have been. And binding. I can't even remember what binding fabric this is. It's all wrinkly because I've had it folded up in my closet. Next quilt. This was my Halloween quilt. This one, again, I planned for like an entire year before I made it. This one got big and out of control real fast. This one is called Pushing Up Daisies. This is by Lila Boutique. I had these fat quarter stack for an entire year. Knew I was going to make this quilt with it. Then I bought the pattern 6 months before I made it. And finally I got to it. This took me longer than I thought it was going to, even though the blocks are relatively fast and they're big. But then it turned out to be fit on top of my king size bed, and then I was dragging my feet on quilting it because quilting king size quilts on my machine. Oh, that sounds like Charlie horses to me. Yeah, and you're right in the old shoulder blades. Anyway, I did the backing with the polka dot, just black with white polka dots, and then I used the same thing for the binding for the whole thing. And then I just did a grid pattern for quilting. This line of fabric is also by Lila Boutique, and it's called Hey Boo. and it is the cutest Halloween fabric I have ever seen. It's all pastels. Look at this. Like pink and light orange pumpkins. So cute. I love this line of fabric. And then, because I used a fat quarter stack, I had so much left over. I got a bonus quilt top. I'm going to show you that next. Okay, here's the bonus quilt top. When I got to the bottom of that fat quarter stack, I found a panel. And so the panel was a bunch of little squares, so I cut them apart. And then I used all scraps to go around whatever was left over from that other quilt. And the other quilt, by the way, if I didn't say, is called Pushing Up Daisies. So here's my bonus quilt top. I did not use a pattern. So what I did was cut apart the little squares, and then I lined them with leftover fabrics. And then I just made Ohio stars from all the black fabrics that I picked out of the first quilt batch. But this one is so cute. I do need to finish it. It is just the top. I need to sandwich it together, which I probably will not do until the end of summer, probably July. And then I got one more quilt top that I did. And lastly, I have my Irish chain fall quilt top that I did. I have to put this together, but my quilt top is done. This took me longer than I thought it would. Generally, I sew pretty fast, but this one again got too big and out of control real fast. So when I tell you that things get big and out of control real fast, it is because I did not use a pattern. This is just, oh no, I just realized those two are the same color and they're next to each other. Doggone it. I thought I was really good about it. I guess I wasn't as good about it as I thought I was. But it is an Irish chain, and I basically took the Irish chain pattern, and I have two fabric lines in here. I have the Awe of Autumn, which is the pictures. That's Awe of Autumn, Awe of Autumn, the Awe of Autumn. I love that. It's so gorgeous. And then these are a Kim Deal jelly roll, which I loved it also, and I thought, well, you know, it's very fallish. So I used that for my 9 patches, and then I used the Awe of Autumn for the pictures of for the leaf blocks and the pumpkin blocks. And again, it got super big, so I really only finished this a week after Thanksgiving. And so now I need to quilt it, and I believe I'll be doing that in January. I got to figure out what back I'm going to put on it. I was just going to use this white for the backing because it's kind of an antiqued white, but I don't have enough. So I got to figure out what I'm going to back it with. But I want to get this done in January because out of everything I did, the log cabin and this are my 2 favorites. I love all of the fabric in this patchwork. It's just so gorgeous. I have a feeling this one will end up being my very favorite, even though right now the log cabin is. When I finish it, I will show it. Okay, so that's my year in quilting. Among that, I did make several bags and aprons and other things like that. I do love to sew. I don't just quilt, I sew a lot of things. I really think it's so fun. If I see a craft that I think looks super fun, like a pin cushion, then I make it. So through the years, I've made lots of pin cushions. I did make a dress form pin cushion. That one turned out super cute. I guess I can show you that one. Oh yeah, and I totally forgot about all my table runners. I've made several table runners, but I can't remember which ones I made this year versus last year. But here is my little dress form pin cushion. I made her a little apron and pockets so I could put things in them. So she's got clips, a seam ripper, a scissor, and I just weighted her down with rocks. So basically I cut the shape of a dress, 2 of them, mirroring, you know, like folded, and then I sewed them together, and then I flipped it upside down and I stuffed it with stuffing, and I stuffed it with stuffing until it got about this full, and then I packed rocks in, the little pebbles that you can get at the dollar store, tiny little pebbles. I packed them with that, and then I just sewed a fabric round to the bottom so that she'd stand up. So there's no plastic, it is pure fabric and stuffing. So cute. Oh, and before I did all the sewing on the front, I put a white neck piece on, and then I used metallic thread and I sewed a necklace on her and put a bead there. That's a silver bead, so it looks like she's wearing a necklace. So much fun. So I do lots of things like that, and I've made several ornaments. These are cathedral window ornaments, which you can also turn into a quilt. It's a quilt square technically, but I turned it into an ornament, and I have them hanging all over my house. I love them. And I can't remember though if it was this year or last year that I made all of these. I had a slight obsession there for a while, and I just kept pulling out fabrics and making all kinds of these. I love the cathedral window. Sometime maybe I'll make a quilt with this pattern. So among all that stuff, and of course I made several aprons. I do sell them on my JeniGough.com. So if you are interested, I have some farmhouse aprons up there for sale now, and I do have canning mats that I sell, and those are listed on my JeniGough.com. So if you're interested, I make a lot of canning mats. I try to make myself seasonal, well, I call them counter quilts, I guess. I try to make myself seasonal counter quilts, so when you see me canning, I try to have the appropriate counter quilt down for whatever season we are in, and it's fun. I just really love them. It's kind of like making tiny quilts. So that is my 2025 in sewing. I hope that you did enjoy all of this, and maybe if you haven't started sewing yet but you're interested, you know what, making your own things is really fun. Making your own blankets or quilts, your own pin cushions, ornaments, aprons, bags, you name it. It's nice to be able to make them yourself versus running out and purchasing them. Especially if you have fabric scraps or old shirts. Old shirts work great for fabric scraps. Also old denim. I have a heap of denim in my sewing room, so I'm going to be doing something with that this year as well. I think I'm going to make a denim quilt. They're weighty and nice, and I remember in the 70s my mom made a denim quilt, and that was my favorite quilt when I was a kid because it was really heavy and it was warm. Anyway, friends, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like videos like these, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out a lot, and I sure do appreciate your support. You can find me on Instagram at JeniGough18. I'm also on Facebook at Jeni Gough, and you can visit my website for aprons, downloadable PDF form books, and counter quilts that I make. Also, all of my recipes are there at JeniGough.com. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.